Hey girl, so glad that you tuned in. My name is Bethany, and this is the Make Up Your Mind channel. You're listening to episode number 20. Whether you're actually putting on your makeup, maybe you're getting ready for work or school, maybe you're in the coffee drive-thru getting ready for the day, wherever life finds you, I hope that you remember that there are people that are for you, cheering you on to succeed. Today, I hope I get to be one of those people standing as a cheerleader on the sideline of your life, reminding you and helping you to make up your mind all day long about the small things that add up to big things later on. I am so excited about this episode today. As you all know, we've been in a series on identity, and we have a guest with us today. She's my friend, Brooke, and she is the youth pastor at True Grace Church down in Lacey, Washington. She brings the fire. Let me tell you what, I cannot wait for you guys to meet her. So as we talk, make sure that you are aware that this is going to be a little bit longer of an episode, but stick through to the end. Also, wherever you're listening, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and give us a review, give us some stars wherever you're listening. Thanks so much, girl, and let's just get to it. Hey, Brooke, how's it going?
It's going good. Yeah, thanks for having me on here.
I'm really excited that you get to be with us. The whole community of Make Up Your Mind is ready for whatever you have to say to us. Oh my gosh. Let's start with you telling us a little bit about yourself, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, I'm 22 years old, living in Lacey, Washington, which is funny when I told people that I live in Lacey, Washington, because growing up, my cousins lived here and I'd always visit, and I told myself I'm never living in Lacey, Washington.
Oh, man.
And here I am. Here we are. But yeah.
Do you drink coffee, and what is your favorite coffee?
Oh, absolutely. I consider myself to be a coffee snob. I only drink strong coffee. Like it's got to be strong. Typically, like when I go to Starbucks, my mom kind of taught me some tricks of how to order coffee and not have to pay like $6 for it.
Come on now.
So typically what I get is 2 shots over ice with extra coconut milk. And if I'm feeling like I want something sweet, I'll do white chocolate. If not, I'll just do honey. But yeah, it's got to be strong.
That is super similar to what I get, because I usually get a misto with coconut milk and an ad shot.
What is a misto?
A misto is like half coffee, half steamed milk, because I like hot coffee, but so it's like drip with an ad shot and the steamed coconut milk, and I love it.
That sounds so good.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us like things that you like. I happen to know that you are like a huge Christmas fan.
Oh, I think everybody knows that. Yeah. It's my unhealthy. I don't know if it's unhealthy. I think everybody should love Christmas.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm like after summer, because my birthday is August 28th. So like after my birthday, there's really nothing. I mean, there's Halloween, and there's fall. It's not like I dismiss those things. It's just Christmas is so much better. So we just start early. But yeah, I love
When
Christmas.
do you put up your tree usually?
Oh, well, I wait until after Thanksgiving, because I mean, I have to you give and take in a relationship. And so that's my give. But we decorate like November 1st, I think is when we decorated last year. Christmas music starts in like September.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah.
And I also know that you're also a huge Disney fan, which I am.
Yes.
I love that so much.
Yes, I found my match in my husband because we both love Disney, and that was like where both of our families would go to vacation. And I don't know, I just love Disney. I love it so much.
Yeah, for sure. I totally get you in that. That's my family too. We're huge Disney people all the way through and through. Okay, so what is your job? Okay, here's a couple questions because I'm gonna fire at you. You already answered that you're married, so maybe what's your husband's name and what's your job, and do you have a pet?
Okay, my husband's name is Hutton, Hutton. A lot of people think like they either think like Sutton or like Hudson, or he's been called Hunter before. Really unique name, but he comes from a family of like 9 siblings. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I got my dream of having a big family marrying into his. It's been so much fun. What was the second question?
What's your job? And then do you have a pet?
Yes. Okay. So I am the youth pastor at True Grace Church. It's been a dream. We've been official youth pastors for probably 3 months now, 2 or 3 months. But yeah, it's been so much fun. And then we have a pet. We just got her last year. She's my favorite thing ever. She's a Australian Labradoodle. She's
Oh,
black. Her
cute.
name is Charlie. Yeah, we love her.
What a good name too. I love it. I love it when pets have like semi-human, like more human names.
Me too.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, Brooke, I'm so excited to have you here because I know, like I know that all of you out there haven't heard, well, some of you probably actually go to True Grace, but I know that you all haven't heard, but Brooke brings the fire when she preaches. Like I'm telling you what, this girl, like she has something in her that just comes out and is awesome. So we're going to ask her some questions. We've been going through talking about identity over the past, I guess, just last week, but we're going to be in this series for just a little while. And so I have some questions about like identity to ask you, Brooke.
Yeah.
So I guess the first one that I want to start out with is, can you tell me about a time that you felt insecure? And when I say insecure, like did you know that's what you were feeling or did you have a hard time identifying it?
That's a good question. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about with girls because it's something that I spent the majority of my 22 years struggling with. But yeah, there have been multiple times. I mean, growing up, probably middle school and high school were my most severe struggles with insecurity. But I don't think I recognized it first as insecurity. I think I didn't I didn't know what it was. I thought maybe like when I walked into a room, I would just immediately start comparing myself with people and thought like maybe I just didn't belong there, and I would like immediately start putting up walls and immediately kind of shutting myself down. Not that I knew I was insecure, but I just thought maybe they were better. I didn't have what the rest of the room had, and I wasn't able to identify it, but I kind of blamed it on being an introvert. Like maybe like
Mm.
I'm just quiet. Like that's just who I am. I just let myself kind of shut down because I couldn't identify what I was actually feeling when it was insecurity.
Man, that's super true. I've had a similar feeling to you
Hmm.
in that, and I think that a lot of girls deal with that aspect, what you said, comparison, and that's actually the episode before this one. We're talking all about comparison in that episode as well. And I think that, yeah, comparison it's really just the killer of a lot of things. It can be
For
the killer
sure.
of relationships for sure too.
Mm.
Have you ever done something that has been kind of out of character for you because you were insecure?
Oh, absolutely. I There's one story I always remember like clear as day. When I was in high school, I was working and training to be on the soccer team. And I we had like the 7 a.m. early workouts, and I was a young sophomore because I my birthday is at the end of summer. So it was either you
Mm.
go in, start school early, or you go in late. And so I was early. So I couldn't drive, but I had my stepdad drive me to practice. It was like 6:30. And I remember getting there and my heart just like sank as soon as we pulled into the parking lot. And I just remember thinking, like, I know we drove a half an hour to get here, but I just looked at him and I said, "Can you just take me home? Like, I don't even want to get out of the car." Because I remember just looking out the car at the girls, and they were all there and they all knew each other. And I just felt like I can't do this. I don't have what it takes. I can't be like them. Like, I'm just not good enough. And so he actually just like drove me home, and that was probably the most like memorable thing that I've done. Cause usually like when I want to do something and I set my mind to do it, like I'm not afraid to do it. But the insecurity had such a hold on me that I was not even willing to get out of the car because I was so afraid.
Did you ever go back to that? Like, did you keep playing soccer? How did you overcome that?
It was a hard summer. It was a really hard summer. I went back a couple times, but I'd always be in the back. I didn't really talk to anybody. I just kind of, after that season, I didn't try again because I was just so intimidated. I was so scared, and I just felt like I wasn't good enough. But that summer was actually the same summer that I found my identity in Christ. And thankfully, since then, I never have struggled that severely, but it was a process for sure.
And this is totally going off my questions now, but
Yeah.
I love what you said, finding your identity in Christ. And how did that happen for you? Like, do you mind sharing about that? Like, what did that experience look like and feel like? And like, how did you get there?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question too. Like I said, it was a process. I got to a point in my insecurity where it actually became like self-destructive, and it became almost, it was dangerous. And my mom recognized it and she said, Brooke, if we don't do something about this, like you need to see a counselor, like you need to do something. And I was terrified. I was like, I can't talk to somebody else about what's going on. I grew up in church. Like nobody can know that I've been struggling like this. And I was just kind of at the end of myself. Like I hated myself, and I didn't want to live like that anymore. And I just felt like there was no more harsh feelings towards myself that I could feel, because I had already like felt it all. And we went to a summer camp that same summer, and I just remember I was sitting in the back because I didn't want to be in the front. And I remember like telling God, like, I don't want to respond. Like I'm just here. I made it. Like, isn't that's good enough? And I just remember that night he like telling me so clearly and just feeling his love so clearly.
Mm.
And in a way that I grew up in church, but I had never felt his love in this way before. And I just remembered him telling me, like, you have to talk to somebody about this in order to find the freedom that you want to find in this insecurity. And I was like, oh, okay, like I can't talk to somebody about this. Like they can't know it. But I just remember he continually was just saying, Brooke, you need to. Like I promise you it's gonna be okay. And so I ended up talking to my youth pastor. And in that moment, I found a freedom, because when you bring things to light, there is so much freedom in that in itself. And after that is when the process kind of began of me realizing who I was, not because of what I wasn't, but because of who Christ said that I was. And in that moment, I was able to actually begin my own relationship with Christ, not just because I grew up in church, but because he pursued me, and I recognized that, and I decided I can't live any other way. Like I need him.
Yeah, come on, so good. And I think that I love that story because I mean, my husband's a youth pastor, and so I believe in camps so much.
Me
Um,
too.
but also I just want to say, like, another push, if you girl out there don't go to a youth ministry and
Mm,
you're feeling like I'm too scared because maybe I don't know enough people, or what are they going to think of me, or am I, whatever the excuses
mm.
are. Like, I just want to say, like, here's another example of why you should be involved in a youth ministry.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm always going to push you towards youth group. Because I just hear time and time again where God meets people and really changes their lives in
Mm,
moments like that. And so, yeah, I love that story. My next question is, like, you kind of have hit on this, but like, how does someone like our listeners discover their identity? Like, how do they do that? And
mm.
I guess I'll wait for the next question because it's kind of a separate topic. But how would you encourage girls that are out there, like, if they're struggling with comparison and that trap that, gets you, and kind of like
Mm.
self-hatred, you also hit on
Yeah.
that, which is a big deal. I think there's a lot of girls out there that really hate who they are. And
Yeah.
how would you encourage people to discover their actual identity?
Yeah. I mean, personally, I think that before you can discover who you were created to be, you have to know who your creator is.
Mm.
And that comes from just spending time with Jesus and just getting to know who he is, because when you spend that time and you begin to know who he is, you know his heart, and you can understand why he created you the way that you are, and why he made you unique, and what he is calling you to do. And I mean, it might sound simple, but ultimately I just think it comes from spending time with Jesus, getting to know him. And then from that, you understand that he has called you, and who he has created you to be. And then that's where I found my identity, was in Jesus and in spending time with him.
Oh man, I just love that so much.
Hmm.
I love that step before, because knowing your creator really will give you direction for so much
Mm,
more of your life. Because it's not only the more time you spend with him, the more time you can see how he sees you, but also how he sees the people around you.
for
And
sure.
that changes your life in such another way too, because then you start seeing people with compassion, and instead of seeing people just as objects. So have you ever, this is kind of a weird question, but have you ever gotten your identity mixed up with, and this is kind of moving towards what we're going to be talking about in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be having a
Hmm.
couple of guests who have done some amazing creative things and have some crazy talent. Have you ever gotten your identity mixed up with your talents
Mm.
and like placed identity in that? Does that make sense?
I love that. That is so good, because it is so easy to do that. It is so easy to identify yourself by what you do rather than just like who you are. And there have been multiple times where I remember when I first, after coming out of that struggle with identity and coming into this place where God called me into ministry, people began to recognize, hey, like, Brooke, you're good at speaking, like, you're good at leading, you're good at communicating. And I was like, oh, thank the Lord. Like, I'm finally good at something. Like, this is awesome. Like, I love that the Lord has called me. Like, he says that I'm good at this. They say I'm good at this. And so I began to draw my value from their recognition and their applause from that. And what was kind of harmful to me was how people would only, like, they would praise what I did, they would praise like communication, they would praise leadership. And I wasn't feeling like I wasn't getting any recognition just for who I was. And so that was really the downfall of where I felt like all I was a communicator. I was a leader. I was the gift, and I was not like just the person. And so I really struggled with that in my junior and senior year of high school. And I remember really feeling it when I was pulled out of a season of speaking and leading, and there was not as many opportunities. I kind of came to myself and I was like, I don't even know who I am anymore. Like, if I don't have these opportunities, who
Yeah.
am I? And I've got nothing. And it was really not a good place to be.
Yeah. I've had that all too recently. That same experience where it's just been like you place your worth in the things that you do so much
Hmm.
that you don't realize you're doing it. And
Yeah.
then when it's taken away, you're suddenly left standing naked and you're like, wait,
Yeah.
wait. And it's so easy to talk about, but the experience of it is like what I hope our audience listening like can learn from your experience rather than getting
Hmm.
down the road. And sometimes we just have to learn from our own experiences, but
Yeah.
having this information talked about, I hope that we can save girls that
Mm.
painful experience of suddenly not knowing who I am, and
Yeah.
suddenly not, if something that they're good enough, for instance, I think about like soccer for you, like if you had continued on in soccer and gotten really good at soccer, like because it can be anything,
Yeah, for sure.
it can be your art, it can be music, like it was for me, music, like it can be whatever you name the talent, and we can get so far down the road that it becomes who we are.
Mm.
And so how would you say, I'm just reading the questions,
You're good.
how would you say that people can lean into their talents and their gifts? Like, I like to say giftings, but I'm
Hmm.
talking about like the gifts God's given us and being the talents that we have. How can people lean into that without like keeping that separation, without it becoming your identity? Like, I think, are there ways that we can healthily proceed? Because it's still important
Mm.
for us to develop those giftings that God has obviously
Hmm.
given us to use.
Yeah. I mean, I think it does go back to the fact of like understanding first and foremost whose you are, and understanding that like you are adopted as a daughter of the king. And there's nothing that we can do on earth that will change the way he feels about us. There's nothing that we can do that would change the fact that he wanted us and that he adopted us. And that is our identity. Our greatest identity is not in what we do, it's in whose we are. And so moving forward with that, I think having that as your foundation, and then understanding that he has given you gifts, he has given you talents, and those are just an outflow of whose you are. And it really makes it hard when you think that it's all that you are, but it really frees you and makes it so much fun when you realize that it's not who you are, but it's an outflow. It's something that you get to do because of who you are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it becomes so much more worshipful toward our God when we make it like an offering of worship rather than just this thing that we're good at.
Right.
And who we are. And I remember my youth pastor growing up, Tyler Higgins, would say to me, like, before you're called to be a worship leader, you're his daughter. Like he would always remind me of that. And I still got it wrong.
Yeah.
But years later, I think I'm finally understanding him in that, what he meant in that. And so, girl, it's been so good to have you on this channel.
It's been so much fun.
I wish that like I could, hear the girls like cheering, but honestly, like I know that they are. It's been so good to have you. And if you guys, where can girls follow you? Like, do you have Instagrams that they can follow? I know that you have a really fun account that they can follow. Maybe.
Yeah, I have my personal account, which is Brooke E. Napier. But I also have an account called The Fully Vibrant, which I just just encouraging stuff to help you walk through and just be who God has created you to be in all of life.
Yeah, so give Brooke a follow on either of those accounts because I guarantee you anything she's posting is going to bring you so much encouragement on your daily basis. I actually Make Up Your Mind reposts Fully Vibrant a lot of the time, I think, but
vice versa.
Yeah. And so you'll definitely see her on our account as well. But thanks so much for being here, Brooke, and it was just an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so honored.
Girl, I'm so glad that you joined us today. How fun was that? Brooke is just amazing. Love her so much. Make sure that you go and follow her, especially on the Fully Vibrant Instagram. I will make a note of that also in the show notes for you guys as well. As always, remember that you are loved, you are seen, and you are valuable. And I want you to remember also today that you're his daughter. Girl, I can't wait for next week. We're going to have another guest on the channel, so you won't want to miss it. I'll catch you later.